dancer, and I'm part of a multicultural leadership club in my school. And I was interested on how you are involved in the community and different cultural sects within it.
Okay. Coquitlam's best reality, the best thing about Coquitlam, I think, is that so many people from around the world have come to Coquitlam. They've come from Europe, from Eastern Europe, from Asia, from North and South America to live here and to call Coquitlam home. So we've been able to celebrate with those cultures. We really have the best of worlds here. And those celebrations, that's the celebrations of the Korean community and the Chinese communities and the Persian community and Eastern European, Russian, the communities from Mexico that really come here and celebrate. In fact, in 2009, we were named a cultural capital of Canada because of our intense celebration of the Scottish culture, the various cultures that live here. And that celebration that happened in 2009 also was our very first Canada Day. That was my first year as mayor, and we celebrated Canada Day for the first time. And in that celebration, the French-Canadian community joined with the Russian community, joined with the Korean community, and joined with communities from around the world that live here in Coquitlam. So I want to partner more with schools as well, because the schools in the Tri-Cities are really, they are the world. They represent students from around the world, and there's a lot of really neat cultural reality that we can celebrate in our school system as well. Well, there actually is a lot we can do as a city to partner with the school district in education. For example, the city has fiber optic cables going through all of our main streets, and we're partnering with the school district right now on trying to find out how we can improve internet access at schools. I mean, the high schools are going to need tremendous throughput, tremendous internet access in the coming decade, and it'll be hard to keep up unless you've got fiber optic. Fiber optic does give that enormous capacity, and the city has invested a good amount in trying to leverage our fiber optic into an economic development opportunity for our businesses. But having it in the streets already, we should make sure that the schools are on board and get on board. We also need to work with the schools on improvement of transportation. Yes, on buses. We need better buses, and we need to make sure that buses aren't full when they get to the bus stop. That's a major problem at lots of schools where sorry bus full is a regular occurrence. So I'm working on the TransLink Mayor's Council on trying to improve our bus system at the same time as we've now finally broken the logjam on the Evergreen Line. The Evergreen Line will really change, I think, transportation in Coquitlam, and so we need the bus service to keep up with that. We've also, similarly on transportation, we've invested quite a bit in improving the traffic safety around schools, starting with the elementary schools certainly, but we want to be able to make it so that the enormous number of students that get dropped off at schools, that the traffic program on the streets in front of them, those schools, actually works for the parents and the students, because that's an enormous headache in our community, and it can create real challenges and real safety risks. So I think we can do much better on that, and we've been doing some enormous investments in the last couple of years.
Well, you mentioned the Evergreen Line, and we were wondering, are the fees going to go up for the students because of the budget and the youth overall?
Actually, no. The Evergreen Line is going to be built starting this next summer, and but it shouldn't by itself actually affect the fares that students pay. And in fact, I've just spent the last 3 years trying to get, and succeeding, we managed to get it, an expansion of the UPass system. The UPass program used to cover only universities and didn't cover Douglas College, for example, and we now will have a UPass for students at Douglas College. That is now available. An absolutely wonderful program that allows students to avoid getting a car and the expenses associated with that if they can actually get around anywhere in the Lower Mainland with a really low price transit pass. I would like to see us further expand that to see if we can get high school students into a bus, into a transit system, into a transit pass that's affordable for us, but actually makes transit accessible to high school students in a much better way. And I think we can do that in the short term. I think that's something that we could accomplish in the next year. In Coquitlam, we've invested, again, a lot of money in improving our sports facilities. We spent $50 million on the Poirier Sports Center. We came in $10 million under budget, but it's still a very large investment. the world-class track and field facilities down at Town Center Park and the world-class tournament facility for field sports like field hockey and soccer and football really, I think, allow more youth to be involved in sport, more youth to be involved in active lifestyle. And so we're trying to expand those kinds of things as much as we can across the city, including covered tennis facilities and covered badminton facilities that are, I think, really badly needed. Lacrosse, we need some more lacrosse facilities, particularly covered lacrosse. The outdoor lacrosse boxes are a real challenge, and so I think some covered facilities for that would really be helpful as well. Well, I'm glad you asked that, Jennifer, because we are actually right now in the process of building a new library in the city center. The library that has been in the basement of City Hall for the last 15 years, we outgrew that 10 years ago. It's been due to be replaced, but there was an enormous capital cost associated with it. So we found a better solution. The solution was to buy an existing building for only $9 million instead of the capital cost of $30 or $40 million to build a new library. We bought an existing building, and we're right now in the process of doing the interior construction to convert it into a state-of-the-art library. It's right next to Henderson Center on Pine Tree, right in our city center. So that will, I think, because of the way we're designing it, because of the amount of technology we're putting into it, it will serve, I think, the students' needs and the needs of families for a generation to come. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, Jennifer, I believe politics doesn't have to have personal attacks. I think politics ought to be, and the discussion in public policy sphere ought to be about policies, about platforms, about ideas that you can bring to the table. I have spent the last 3 years trying to build our relationships, for example, with other mayors across the region and with the provincial and federal governments, and it paid off big time. We were able to achieve that the Evergreen Line. After 25 years of trying, we were finally able to get it achieved, and we now have the funding formula in place. Similarly, we were able to get our homeless shelter funded. And that was, we'd been working on that for a number of years, and I spent the last 3 years working with the Minister of Housing to finally get the funding for a homeless shelter, because homelessness is a big issue in the Tri-Cities, and we're trying to help be a part of the solution. We were able to get more infrastructure grants than any other community on a per capita basis. We've paved about 5 years worth of paving all in 1 year as we improved the roads in Coquitlam. So relationships are important. I think building those relationships is really important. I think the personal attacks and the real negative campaign work that my opponent's been doing isn't helpful. It doesn't build a community, and it doesn't build a better place for our citizens.